Hi everybody, this is History Dad. Today I want to talk about the settlement of North and South America. When I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, we were told, or we were given the impression that the United States especially, but all of the Americas, were relatively virgin, untouched land. They were pristine. There were some natives, but not nearly many to truly populate the area. 30s, 40s, into 50s, the best estimates they had were 8 to 15 million natives in both altogether. The estimates have gone up, people. Now it's estimated with new and good science that there were as many as 100 million people in North and South America. That would have, at the time, at 1492, have given the Americas 1/6 of the population of the world. That's a lot of people. There was a lot of trade. There were societies, there were cultures, they were sophisticated. Everyone thinks, for example, of the rainforest as being untouched. Not true. Estimates are at least 40% of the tropical rainforest is secondary, and some would go as far as saying 100%. Some would go as far as to say that as of 1492, there were no untouched rainforests, for example. It was all secondary. It had all been altered by humans in one way or another. The most common way, and the way they're still finding all the time, is when they dig down, they find large amounts of carbon in places like the rainforest where forest fires aren't really common. What this is signs of is the natives using the burning to clear land to allow for the cultivation and the repopulation of species that were better for humans. We were busy. People were doing things there. So what happened? Disease. Disease is what happened. Especially smallpox, measles, malaria, yellow fever, even the plague. These all came from the old world to the new world. These were diseases that none of the natives here had ever encountered. They were hit by plagues and epidemics, both multiple epidemics at the same time, as well as successive waves of different ones. It decimated, or more than decimated, it killed 90% of the people over the next couple hundred years. Let me give you a couple estimations of specific plagues that we know about. 1616. Bubonic plague hit the coastal New England region, killed 9 out of 10 natives. Smallpox. Smallpox is a biggie, boy. In the 1630s, smallpox hit the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence region. Half of the Huron and Iroquois federations were killed. 1738, half of the Cherokee were killed off by smallpox. 1759, half of the Catawbas. Right before the Louisiana Purchase was finalized, smallpox killed 2/3 of the Omaha, and it's estimated that it killed 1/2 of the population between the Missouri River and New Mexico. As late as the 1820s, a fever went through Columbia River area and killed 4 out of 5 people. That's a lot of death for any civilization to cope with. Let me give you an idea in modern terms. If over the next 100 years we had an equivalent series of plagues, everyone in the United States would be dead except for the state of California. And not even the whole state of California, most of California. It would be as if all that was left was the population of the 20 largest cities in the United States. This is a lot of destruction. And we had indications it happened earlier, but nobody really gave it any credit. And there was a 16th century priest, Bartolomé de las Casas, who said in 1549 when he was here, as he traveled, everywhere he went, it was full of people. It was busy as a hive of bees. By 1560, that same priest looked around, estimated, doing a little bit of math and figuring, that 40 million people had been killed by 1560. That's from 1492 to 1560, 40 million people he estimated. Everyone thought that was a ridiculous number. Now, historians are beginning to think that he may have been right. The signs are there were a lot more people and there was a lot of death. Try to imagine what that would do to a culture or a society. even spread out over 250, even out close to the 400 years. That much death would be hard to cope with. We live in a society that's constantly growing. The population is growing, both by the birth rate and by immigration, but there's constantly more people. Imagine a total reversal of that, and people started dying left and right. The psychological and emotional impact of that is really incalculable. It's impossibly hard to imagine what that would do. It definitely did not leave them in any shape for what was essentially an invasion. Maybe the colonists, when they first came over, had some benign intentions and just wanted a new life, but we all know that changed relatively quickly. We started pushing the natives back at a ridiculous rate with no real regard for their well-being. Think if there had been 9 times more natives, 10 times. They would have booted the Europeans back in the Atlantic Ocean before you could say manifest destiny. It wouldn't have happened. But for the lack of a couple antibodies, the Western world as we know it would have been completely different. I think it's important to keep in mind, we did not come here to this empty place that was built for our expansion and for the Europeans to move westward and grow. No. We came here, we brought diseases, we killed up to 90 million people, and then we took their land. I'm not trying to make everyone feel bad and guilty. It is what it is. But I think we need to have some perspective when we think about history. This is just one more of those things that didn't happen quite the way I was always told. And I think it's good to have a better idea of how it really did happen. Alright, well that's all I have today. It was good to see you. Once again, I think everybody should go outside, do something productive, get some sunshine. Alright, I'll talk to you later. Bye.